Alright guys, here we go with our review for the stats quiz review, the practice quiz for the stats test quiz tomorrow. Here we go. So under a normal curve, how much of the data is contained, and I'd like you to give percentages here, within one standard deviation from the mean? The answer to that is 68%. Hopefully you've got this, this note page right here about the empirical rule and all of this stuff, and that's one of our first things right here. Very important to realize that within one standard deviation, that means one standard deviation below to one standard deviation above, that is 68% of the data. That's the empirical rule, and we always use that for normal distributions. Using that same kind of a curve here, how much percentage is between 1 and 2 standard deviations below the mean? That is kind of hard to describe maybe. I'm not sure if that came across very well, but that's this area right here. And so you can think of that, this is between 1 and 2 standard deviations below the mean. There's 1 standard deviation, there's 2, and so that's 13.5% right there. Okay, and then the last one, more than, that is above, 2 standard deviations below the mean. That one's kind of confusing. I probably could have figured out a better way to phrase that. But what I meant was, if you look at a normal curve, 2 standard deviations below the mean is right there. And how much of the data is above that? Well, the 2 standard deviations within the mean contains 95% of the data. So there's only 5% of the data that's outside of that. But that's only half of that 5% that's left is below. The other half is above. So all of this is 97.5%. 5% divided in 2 is 2.5. So 95 plus 2.5 is 97.5%. Okay, let's move on. So this guy Selden got a 92 on his chemistry test, and the class average was 88, and the standard deviation was 5 points, or 5%. Describe his score in context to the rest of the class. Well, since he scored 4 more than the class average, and the standard deviation was 5, he's almost 1 full standard deviation above the mean. He's actually 4 divided by 5 is 0.8. That's his z-score, 0.8. And when you look that up on the z-table, or on the normal probability chart, okay, here's your positive z-score of 0.8 is right there. 0.7881. All right, so that's 78.81% is of the class is below him. Not bad. Okay, here's another one. The free throw percentage of NBA players. I'm kind of making these numbers up. 78%. And a standard deviation of 4.9. And James Harden of the Houston, excuse me, Rockets, not Astros. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I do. I was thinking the baseball team for some stupid reason. Anyway, 85 is his three-throw percentage. So how far above the average is he? Well, 85 minus 78 is 7. 7 divided by the standard deviation of 4.9. So that's our z-score, in other words. His z-score, score minus mean over standard deviation, is 1.43. That is his z-score. This other guy, C.J. McCollum, has the highest current free throw average in the NBA. It's 91.3%, which is pretty amazing. How many standard deviations above the mean is he? Well, that may sound like a different question than before, where you were just finding the z-score, but that actually is exactly what the z-score means. It's a measure of how many standard deviations above or below the mean a certain score is. So James Harden was 1.43 standard deviations above the mean, and when you work it out for C.J. McCollum, he is 2.71 standard deviations above the mean. Pretty amazing. All right, so these normal curves here with their scaling of the x-axis, pretty basic stuff here. There's your mean, standard deviation of 0.4, so just keep marking off 0.4 increments, 3.4, 3.8, 4.2, and then going down below, 2.6, 2.4, and 1.8. Over here where the mean was 60 and the standard deviation was 8, it gives you numbers like this. I don't think I need to read them off there. You can check them out. There you go. Last problem on this is about the African male African elephants, and they have a mean weight of 12,000 pounds. with a standard deviation of 640 pounds. Yes, I did make up those numbers, although I did look up how much an elephant weighs just to get something sort of real. But anyway, what percentage of the male African elephants weigh less than 10,000 pounds? So figure out the z-score, and you get a very, very low z-score of negative 3.125. If you look that up on the chart, it barely even registers. Negative, so we're on the negative side, 3.1. I'll round it up to 3.03, which is this number right there. Does that come into focus for you? I don't know if it does or not. It's 0.0009 is the number there. And so that is a 0.09% chance. Barely any male elephants weigh less than 10,000 pounds. I don't know if that's really true or not, so don't go to National Geographic and quote me about it. I just kind of made up these standard deviations in these numbers. So, but according to our data, 0.09% chance or percentage of the elephants weigh less than 10,000 pounds. How many weigh between 11 and 13,000 pounds? That is within 1,000 pounds either way of the mean. All right, it's kind of like that tire problem we did in another video. But anyway, when you figure out the z-scores for both of those weights, 11,000 pounds and 13,000 pounds, you get negative 1.56 for the 11,000 pounds and 1.56 positive for 13,000. So when you calculate the percentages for each of those, this one has a percentage of 94.06. This one has a percentage of 5.94. You do the subtraction there, you get 88.12% of the elephants, according to our data, weigh between 11,000 and 13,000 pounds. And the last question here, what percentage of male African elephants weigh more than 13,200 pounds? And figuring out the z-score for that gives us a value of 1.875, and I used my chart to come up with 0.9699, right? That's over here. 1.875. So I come down here 1.875 all the way over here. And let me see, I think I'm in this chart right there. There we go, that's the number. It's 0.9699 if you can't read that through the fuzzy screen. 0.9699 means 96.99% of the elephants weigh less than 13,200 pounds. Remember, that number on the chart is the percentage less than your score. And we want more than, so we subtract it from 100. 100% minus that 96.99% is a mere 3.01% of the elephants weigh more than 13,200 pounds. Okie dokie. Enjoy. See you soon.